Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags Metal Reviews, and today we're giving you guys our first impressions of the new albums from Ingested, Devin Townsend, and The Offering. So I would say today's a pretty big day in metal. These are all like pretty big album releases, I would say. In terms of their content. I feel like there's a lot going on in terms of the music. Would I say they're the biggest names? Maybe not, but if you look at these albums, you'll know, oh, okay, there's some big stuff going on. So I guess I'll get started and I will talk about the first album I listened to today, which was Seeing the Elephant by The Offering. Now, this is not the first time we've checked out The Offering before. We reviewed Home last year, which was, I guess, a prize for the individual that correctly predicted the Battle of Sweden's Swedish theme for the last tournament that we held, and they chose Home. So we checked it out and it got 2 toe tags. It was a great album. We both loved it. Really, really cool. So that was my reference point of like, oh, The Offering's got a new one out. Awesome. Okay, let's check it out. I loved Home. Let's see what this is. And it blew my mind. This album, to me, felt like they took everything that they already knew from Home and just multiplied it. You know, things are heavier, things are crazier. Like Wasp, which is the first track, starts off with a huge bang, and it's like, wow, these guys aren't messing around. And, you know, we made this comment back when we checked out Home. It kind of has a little bit of a strapping young lad tinge to it, and I can still see that present here. That's just kind of, you know, part of this band's sound. And that's cool, and it sounds darker and crazier from what I remember from Home. You know, it's just a lot more going on there. I didn't make a note of what song this was, oops, but halfway through one of the songs, I think in the first half, there's like a really sick melodic line happening when it like gets to a quiet section, and I thought that was super duper cool. One thing that I noticed was that a lot of the guitar work reminded me of Slipknot. Not only in its performance, but just the actual tone itself reminded me of what I would hear in Slipknot. I think that's really cool. And there was another song, Rose Fire, which starts out so mean with disgusting pinch harmonics, but the chorus sounds like a Korn chorus. Sounds like I'm listening to a Korn song, which is cool. Like, this sounds like Slipknot plus Korn. Like, that's awesome, you know? With pretty much just like an overall melodic death metal kind of brush over it. Like, you're getting so many kind of connections and so many inspirations coming at you at the same time. Super duper cool. And I feel like Flower Children into Tiny Disappointments is a really good example of the broad range this band has with their sound. Because you've got 2 starkly contrasting songs that I feel like just give you an idea, like, what's this band about? Listen to these 2 songs and you've heard just the wide range of what they're capable of. So, just crazy album.
It's been a while since I've listened to Home. Like, TV Fish has 2 toe tag albums, so obviously I loved it. And when I put this on, I was like, oh yeah, this is what this band sounds like, I remember, but I was still taken aback. Like, there's so much creativity here. There's so much going on. Now, normally when I do a first impressions, I'll have like maybe a couple notes about the album overall, and then like maybe a couple notes about some songs that stood out. I have notes about every song on this album because every song had stuff that was standing out to me as I listened to it. You mentioned Slipknot. I 100% agree. The guitaring on this album, not through the entire album, but in a lot of places, very, very Slipknot-like. I also agree on the vocals being, you said choruses, whatever you said.
That one chorus, but I guess maybe...
I think overall, there's a lot of Jonathan Davis sounding vocals on this album. There's even some effects that Korn uses in their music to emphasize certain phrases or words, and they're used on this album too to emphasize certain phrases or words. Protest the Hero, I also hear vocals that remind me of Protest the Hero. The songs, though, in a lot of ways, sound like they were written by System of a Down. Just the way they don't sound like System of a Down. It's just like System of a Down wrote the song and then gave it to The Offering and went, here, you guys perform this. But at the end of the day, it all sounds kind of like Strapping Young Lad. The mixture of stuff that I'm getting vibes from on this is insane. It's like progressive nu metal. I hear a lot of nu metal in here, but it's got this prog element. I don't know what prog band I could, attribute it to, but that doesn't really matter. The fact is, there's a lot of stuff happening here, and just the contour of sounds and stuff is all over the place. Standout tracks for me were track number 4, Rose Fire. and track number 8, Tiny Disappointments. The rest of the tracks all had stuff in them, but those two specifically stood out. So Tiny Disappointments, just to not go into too much detail, we got 2 other albums to talk about. It starts off as like up-tempo lounge music. I was like, what the hell is this Michael Bublé kind of shit? But then it picks up, obviously, and then it gets cool. And I really don't know how to describe the song, but I like it. And it just makes me think these guys are fantastic songwriters to make you sit there and you go, huh? And then you go, oh. And you go, yeah. And that's kind of like the roller coaster of emotions I get from one song. The solos also, I'll just say, on this album are wild. And there's a lot of them. I don't know if they're on every song, but they come and they're just shreddy and stylish.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun listening to this album. 10 songs, 51 minutes. It was a lot of fun. On to Ingested, Ashes Lie Still.
So we actually reacted to a few of these songs, and we enjoyed them for what they were. It's just kind of felt weird hearing these songs out of context of the album. And I feel like now hearing them all together, it's actually really good. I like this quite a bit. We did check out Where Only Gods May Tread when it came out, which I think either got like a toe tag and a 7.5 or like a double 7.5. Like it didn't quite get 2 toe tags, but we still enjoyed the album quite a bit.
Yeah.
This album has, I feel like, I don't know how you really want to describe what slam is. You know, but I feel like you got whatever you can describe slam as with deathcore, with death metal, all fused into each other in and out. It's this kind of thing where you're hearing it and you're like, yeah, this is kind of like a deathcore thing going on, but then they're just riding on this riff and it's like, oh, this is
slamming riffs,
yeah, slamming or even just straight up death metal. Like it's kind of weird with the genre with these guys, but they do a lot of cool things. There's a breakdown in Shadows in Time that turns into a groove, and I love that because you hear a lot of, you know, we'll say deathcore bands, they do this breakdown and then they whatever go back into their chorus or whatnot. They turned this breakdown into a groove, and I thought that was really cool. I'm like, you don't really hear that very often, or the way that they did it, at least in this case. From Hollow Words is super nasty, and that one sounds a bit more like a death metal style song, and I feel like that also gives this album more variety and makes it interesting from track to track. And See a Stone, that's another one I liked. It's like a more of a slow burner kind of track, and I enjoy that quite a bit. Overall though, riffs are very good. What did you think of the features? There were a lot of features on this album.
They were
I think
pretty
there was
good.
like, what, 4 or so? 3 or 4?
Well, there was one from one of the reactions we did. I think it was a lady singing some doing some vocals.
Yeah, in the first track.
Then there was one with Matt Heafy.
Yeah.
I don't remember the other ones, but anyway, they were okay. I didn't think they were huge like things that stood out or made any song extra special in any way. But they're cool. It's cool to have features. It kind of adds flavor to the track. You know, a little bit of extra spice. They were pretty good.
Yeah, regarding the one with Matt Heafy on it, which is called All I've Lost, it has this like orchestral sounding thing in the background that I liked quite a bit, and what I especially liked about it is that it's really the only time you hear it, and that makes it more special.
Exactly.
It makes it more interesting, like, oh wow, what is this? I haven't heard this before, and then you don't hear it since.
Yeah.
So I think that is really cool, and it's another testament to how this band and this album keeps it fresh from track to track.
Right. I thought the album was pretty good from beginning to end. I enjoyed it quite a lot. But I definitely think that it was stronger on the second half, at least on a first impression. It's like sometimes those opinions can change. But the most standout tracks for me were tracks 9 and 10. So track 9, Echoes of Hate, I felt this song was just structurally more unique than the rest of the album. And it's also the longest song at like almost 5.5 minutes. So I feel like the fact that it's longer, it enabled them to kind of play with the format a little more and take the listener on more of a journey through the track. Also had a really cool bridge groove section that I really liked. And then the last track, Scratch the Vein, track number 10, this track also has quite a different feel and sound to it. The riffing sounds like something you might hear from a band like Typo Negative or Paradise Lost, like kind of doomy riffs. Doesn't sound quite like a doom metal song, but just elements of that genre are infused into this. I thought that was cool, and I thought that made for a good outro track. I don't know what Scratch the Vein is about. I don't know lyrically or subject matter what it's supposed to be interpreted as, but I feel like as an album closer, it did a pretty good job at kind of capping off a pretty solid album through and through.
Yeah, that was another song I made a note of that I enjoyed. Scratch the Vein, that's a good one.
Yeah, because it stands out.
Yeah,
it doesn't sound like, it's not like a completely different thing. Like, it all still sounds like a comprehensive album, but these little things like the orchestral part you talked about and just changing up the riffs a little bit can go a long way on an album, especially in a genre like deathcore or whatever you want to call it, which is a pretty saturated genre these days, and it's hard to stand out, and these little things are what help that accomplish that.
Exactly. So, Lightwork by Devin Townsend. What's interesting about the kind of Devin Townsend scenario right now is the last time he released something was, I guess, 2 albums, The Puzzle and Snuggles, which were not like the full-blown Devin Townsend albums. They were kind of like these ambient albums, which is great as an ambient experience. If you like an ambient thing, you need to go to sleep, you need to chill, relax. Those were great, but they're not metal, and this is a metal channel. Lightwork is kind of like if you took those and made them into like proper performance albums.
Songs, yeah.
You made those into songs. It's very mellow, very chill. There is one song in particular I actually loved, and that's Celestial Signals. The sound effects that are in the background of the song paint such a nice texture over the sound. Loved it. Just that song came on like, oh, this is amazing. Everything else kind of felt like it was going at one single tone. And that's kind of the issue I had. Like, where's the contour? It's kind of just like one thing going on. It's a pretty good thing, I'd say. But that one song, though, definitely stood out. I mean, Equinox was kind of neat. It had like almost like a dark synthwave sound. And I like that. Dimensions kind of felt like something was changing a little bit, like once we got to that part, which was near the halfway point of the album. But a weird thing, though, is that, and I'm not sure exactly what happened, but there's like a second album called Nightwork, which, from what we looked into, is on the deluxe edition of the album, but from the research I attempted, it looks like it's a companion album, so I don't know if that means
whatever that means.
If it's a double album or this is like a bonus chunk of tracks or not. I'm not entirely sure. It was kind of hard to figure out exactly what it was from the research, but I was able to listen to about half of Nightwork, and it was great. It was what I wanted from Lightwork. Like, this is lots of energy, lots of stuff going on. Like, this is the Devin Townsend that we know and love. So I'm wondering, like, are they meant to go together? Because that would kind of make sense, considering you got Lightwork, which is all the light stuff, and Nightwork, which is the heavier stuff.
Call it a double album then. Don't make all the Nightwork songs like, they're basically bonus tracks.
Yeah.
Essentially, they're bonus tracks to Lightwork, and we don't include bonus tracks when we're reviewing albums. So for that reason, I didn't even listen to Nightwork. I listened to Lightwork because that's the album that's presented as the release today. So I don't have a lot to say about it, except that I'm completely disappointed. Devin Townsend is not making the kind of music these days that I know he's capable of making. I mean, it's not that it's bad. People might love this. You might love it. Listen to it. Don't listen to what I'm saying. But it's not for me, okay? I like Strapping Young Lad, Devin Townsend, which is also kind of a coincidence because we listened to another album that sounded like SYL earlier. But anyways, I listened to about half of this album, maybe 4 tracks, and then turned it off. I couldn't get through it, honestly. It was boring me. There was nothing, like you said, there was no contour. It felt like a streamline, nothing. It just didn't do anything for me at all. So I didn't even get through it. Sucks to say that, but yeah, this is not the kind of music for me. So I'm not really in a position where I should really be casting judgment on it. But by all means, check it out, listen to it. I'll probably check out Nightwork at sometime before the end of the year and maybe consider it for a top 5 if we decide it stands out as an album on its own.
Or figure out what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, because from what you're saying, it sounds more like, Devin Townsend on the heavier side of his.
100%.
Exactly.
100% does. It was really cool from what I heard.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll probably check that out. But as far as Lightwork goes, it's a big disappointment for me. So with that said, out of the 3 albums, we've chosen The Offering, right?
Yeah.
We're going to do The Offering. We've reviewed albums from both The Offering and Ingested before, but we both had, a lot of fun listening to The Offering today. Seeing the Elephant is a pretty solid album on our first impressions, and there's a lot there to unpack. So, yeah,
Yeah, and we're definitely going to be putting that album through the ringer and listen to it constantly nonstop all week, and we'll be back next week to review Seeing the Elephant by The Offering. And that's all we got for you guys today. So remember to like the video if you like it. Comment, tell us in the comments below, what do you think of today's releases? Tell us, please, what is Nightwork? Is it like a double album thing? Is it just a bonus album? What is it? We both would really want to know. Anyway, subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. I'm TV Fish.
I'm Vile Self.
And keep the horns up.